Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Star Wars Popcast. Today, it's a little bit different. We're missing our fearless leader, Christopher. He is taking a little vacation, and he's out in Vegas, so he should hopefully be joining us here in the chat. But it's me, myself. My name is Patrick, and happy to be here. And of course, we always have our other co-host, Lex.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Welcome to episode 56.
So, Lex, you excited for today?
I am. I've been a big fan of the first 3 episodes of Bad Batch. We do have a little bit of news, and as you mentioned in the chat, we do have a very special guest. So I'm excited to bring him on and chat with him about, Funko Pops.
Absolutely. Me too. I think we are going to bring him in sooner than later because I think we all want to get to talking about Bad Batch, those first 3 episodes. So without further ado, let us bring our friend Brandon of the Brandalorian in, and we'll have him introduce himself. Hey, Brandon, how you doing today?
Hey, doing good. How you guys doing?
Very good. Very good.
Good.
So if you don't mind, could you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so obviously I'm a huge Star Wars fan, have been since a little kid. But I started getting back into Disney Star Wars around COVID pretty hardcore. So I've just been trying to keep my head straight with all the stuff that's coming out. So obviously today with Bad Batch, this is going to be really great to talk about because that's some of the best content that we've had probably, in the last year, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm just excited to be on here and chat with you guys finally. Been keeping up with you guys on Instagram and stuff. So this is a kind of come to circle moment. So this is pretty cool.
Nice. We're excited to have you, man. We're really excited to have you.
Heck yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have 3 questions that we usually ask all of our guests. If you're ready, it is Funko related though.
Cool.
Do you know how many Funko Pops you currently have in your collection?
With Star Wars, I'm probably around maybe 120, 130. But with other Funkos as well, from like sports to movies and stuff, I'm probably around 200-ish.
Okay.
Nice.
Gotcha.
So.
Nice. Do you know what your most expensive pop is?
Most expensive. I do have a Anakin with 2 lightsabers on the way. I finally was able to snag that for a pretty steal of a price, in my opinion, off eBay. So that'll be here in the next couple days. But
Nice.
probably my Kit Fisto actually.
Ooh.
I just picked that up, and I mean,
That's
I'm
a
not.
good one.
Yes, I'm a huge Kit Fisto guy, so it's nice to finally have him in the collection. But I haven't really dipped into Grails too much yet. I'm definitely a more common, and most of the pops I've been finding on eBay range from like $20 to $30. So that's kind of the most expensive I'm dipping in so far.
That's not a bad thing. Are they your personal grails that you're trying to pick up, as opposed to like it's not a Captain Rex convention exclusive that you're spending a couple $100 on, right? So
right.
Awesome.
And like to me at the time, like the Cobb Vanth chase, that's one of my favorites. That was like a grail to me because it took me months on months to find it. So I was like, once I finally found it, I think my wife looked at me like, "Are you okay?" So, but yeah, that's a grail.
I was the same way. I actually bought one, and I thought when I picked it to purchase that it was automatically a grail. So when I got it and it wasn't, I was like, "What the F? This is I thought I got the grail." I had to read the fine print. Maybe a grail. I'm like, "Oh, come on!" The whole reason I purchased you is because I thought it was a given.
Right.
So yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's funny.
And then our last question is, what is your favorite Funko Pop?
Favorites probably either that Chase Cobb Vanth or this one I was waiting so long for. The Darth Vader with the cracked this. It has to be up there in my favorites because I knew once seeing that finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi, I was like, man, this has to be a Funko, and sure enough,
it was.
Yeah, that one I think definitely stumped a lot of us. It was like a Walmart exclusive, then it went over to Target, then it was back to Walmart, and it was just like was shipping, and then it didn't show up, and that was like crazy. But I think we all have that one now, so we're safe.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I had to get it. I had to make my own until I got that one, but I do like having it. I just wish they did something. You know how I'm a sucker for lights and sounds. I really wish they did something where they could put a little LED on the edge of the helmet crack where it could go from red to blue. And when he certain lines, it would light up the face like that. And obviously, hearing the Ewan McGregor interviews at MegaCon, he mentioned this, which thank you to your footage there, Lex. We got to actually hear the story. Them playing with the lightsabers while rehearsing and running their lines, and shooting was the inspiration. Well, wait a second, there's something going on here. When you give this line, let's put the blades here so we get the blue. When we talk about this line, it's with the red. So there was enough, just like us in the viewing, like, oh, that was really cool. I think them as they were filming, that wasn't planned and happened to be like one of those happy accidents. When they saw it, they're like, let's keep with that. And so I think that they should do a lights and sound that does that. And it's sad. I still see the Vader lights and sound at like a Newberry Comics the other day. So and when I got my 10-inch, the 10-inch was released when Kenobi was coming out. So I thought, well, if they're doing a 10-inch, they couldn't possibly do a 10-inch of the same one they did, 2 years ago. But it's exactly the same thing, just in 10 inches. So that was my disappointment. So I really wish they did something a little bit more. And, there's still faith that maybe they could do something, because there's so many great quotes that we got from that Kenobi series. Like, I am what you made me, Anakin is dead. I am what's left, that whole banter between him and that'd be great. That'd be great. So I don't know. I'm holding out. Maybe we'll get a movie moment that could have some lights and sounds, and we could have them both saying their parts back and forth. I'm down for it. I don't care how much it is. Take my money.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool.
Gotcha. And we have some people in the chat, so I don't know if this person was super early yesterday or maybe it's their time there, but we have Monster Pete, Star Wars, I'm in everything. What's up, everyone? We've got Robbie One Kenobi. Hey guys, happy
Robbie.
Saturday. Thank you for joining us. And then if someone let the Zillo Beast escape and destroy inside the mountain facility, I would like to see the Zillo Beast clone eat Dr. Hemlock. Okay, it's a little dark. We've got Return of the Jedi. Sup, y'all?
Sup,
How
y'all?
you doing? Thanks for joining us. And then we've got Mikey. Oops, late again. Good evening, all. You're never late. You're just
Never
on time.
late, my friend. Even if you're watching the recast of this, never late.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And we did get a few kind of leaks, rumors this week, so I think we should jump into the pop report and kind of talk about those.
All right.
No need to report that to him until we have something to report.
So on January 12th-ish, or around that time, this image kind of surfaced on diss trackers, and we were like, what? Like, where did this come from? There wasn't a lot of information that was put out, but it was already like boxed. Like, there wasn't like a leaked image or anything. It was just this. And then our guy over at Funko Canada, or Funko News Canada, posted this, that it is already available in stores at GameStop, which I find absolutely crazy, because I feel like I haven't seen Funko post anything that's like, this is official or what's going on. I mean, it looks pretty official, but I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
This is well, like I think I told you before, I thought it was this guy. I thought it was the Phase 1 clone trooper originally, and I didn't really take a hard look at it to notice it has the different nodes on the helmet and stuff, slightly different stance with the opposite leg coming forward, so different box number, everything. So yeah, I'm excited to get a 501st clone trooper Phase 2. I think that'll be awesome. I mean, I might actually have to get more than one of these, because it looks that cool. I'm excited for it. I am nervous, though, as I had said earlier in other podcasts, that my GameStop locally to me was telling me that they're going to be closing like 200 plus stores here in the United States down. And mine doesn't seem to be getting anything new, and it keeps having lots of clearance, which I can see on other videos, like Ricky at Pop the Bounty Collector and Will have been killing it on the savings, because they're picking up the Red Saber series. I think I picked them up for what, $26 to $30 a pop. They're getting for like $3, $4, and buy one get one free. Like, so they're really mixing up and getting some great deals. And that's the tough thing that we've always said about Funkos, that sometimes you can wait and you might get a deal, and sometimes if you wait too long, it's not you're waiting out that deal, but it might never come, and you might not find that pop around and become scarce to get.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword on these, but I hope our game. Now I'm going to go look at my GameStop and pester the guy and say, "Hey, do you know if you're getting this in?" I'm curious. I'm very curious. We'll see.
What about you, Brandon? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it looks tough. I like the phase 2, of course. Phase 1, you get that OG feel, but yeah, I mean the phase 2 looks really good. The only thing is like it looks like a Mandalorian box.
Yeah.
Yes.
That kind of threw me off at first glance, but maybe is this kind of like a mock, like maybe just the box, or is this actually like real?
I think they're probably taking it from the flashback of Grogu.
Yes.
Oh
And they're
yeah.
introducing this phase of the clone trooper from that flashback. What Lex, are you thinking the same?
That was my initial thought, is that it was like from the flashback where they have Keller and Beck kind of go and save Grogu. But then it makes me think that was season 2. So we're still now just getting season 2 pops.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. And it looked like in the last image, it had the Funko like shop exclusive sticker. And this one has the GameStop exclusive sticker kind of posted in the corner, but not on the box. So I don't know what to think. I think there's a lack of information surrounding this pop. If it's true, I would love that. And I would pick up a few of them. But I just don't know. I'm very skeptical.
Yeah. And the promotion of this pop is kind of very low key. Like, I don't know. I think for the average person kind of cycling through their images in Instagram and coming across it are going to, much like I did, probably skip past it and thinking that it's the phase 1 clone trooper, and they're looking at the same thing they already have in their collection or have already seen a million times. So I don't really see this getting promoted even like this. And knowing how many people want clone troopers, right? We didn't get anything for Attack of the Clones. So I think there's a lot of collectors that would really want this. So I feel that we're dropping the ball on the promo of this pop already. Like, is it going to be like the Thrawn, where it doesn't have the Rebels, but it kind of has the rest of the Rebels boxing to it and has the Star Wars, but they kind of squeeze it into Mando? Who knows? I'll take it no matter what. Because again, I don't really care about the boxes. I just care about the quality of the pop and the pose and the sculpt. But I'll definitely be adding this to the collection once it gets released here in the States.
It almost kind of just seems like it got like lost in the sauce, perhaps, when they were doing the season 2 releases. Because I know that Funko was going through, whatever it was with their changing and stuff around that time, which is why I feel like we didn't get the season 2 pops until later. So maybe this one kind of like slipped through the cracks a little bit, which is devastating because I feel like this is the most important one that they've released so far. But maybe that's what happened, and they're just kind of now like circling back to it. But I mean, as Mikey said, is it even real? If so, gimme.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Oh, and then we got Chris in the chat. Hey guys, sorry I couldn't be on with you guys. Oh, it's okay. Always here in support. It's still kind of wild that we are still getting season 3 Mando Funkos. I totally agree. I think Funko totally does not capitalize on giving and producing Funkos right after or during shows being aired. And then you have stuff like this, which, I mean, I don't think this is a good example because I think anyone will pick this up if you're a big clone fan. But some of the other ones I feel like didn't get picked up by a lot of collectors because it was so after the fact.
Yeah.
Like
the Mandalorian Judge, if he wasn't as cool looking as he was, he might not have been on my radar list. Like, honest to God, if it wasn't for the color scheme of him that really made him pop out with that orange and the teal, he would have been like the covert Mandalorian that I just picked up. My wife got me at Christmas time. That was from season 1, right? So the very first wave I didn't pick up, it would have ended up like that. But it was really that attractive pop that I personally went and grabbed it. But I agree. Like, I think we're missing the mark on that kind of, when you watch a series or a show, a movie, and you have that built-in excitement, that's when you introduce the product. You don't introduce it months and years after. You lose the hype, and if you lose the hype, you're losing sales, right? Because again, that's kind of part of the momentum of being a collector. And for marketing, you want to strike while the iron's hot. So when the show's over and it's getting panned, and how many people are doing reviews on it and stuff like that, and you then come out a year later, I'm sorry, you're missing the boat. Like, you're getting the diehard collectors like us, but I think for the more normal people collecting them, you've lost out. You missed the boat. That's just my personal opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Got another comment. What was that guy? Return of the Jedi. Funko is doing much better job than Hasbro for keeping up with the content. We just got some very basic Batman BOB figures last Black Series. Wait, Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, but I know from being at Mr. Potato Head for a period of time, it's a little bit different. Return of the Jedi, only because you're only given a figure, and you're not there. Sometimes there might not even be a name for it yet, and it's what they call freshly grown and painted. So it's like hot off the 3D printer brought to us. For instance, when the Black Series first came out, we were trying to photograph Darth Maul, the Luke X-Wing, and what was the other? Oh, Boba Fett. And Boba Fett was so freshly grown and repainted. Every time we adjusted that little cape he had, his arm would just fall off. So it took a little bit of finesse to kind of get that image. Also, with some of the backgrounds that Lucasfilm would supply us, we got the door background, and then we had to finagle to get Darth Maul in it. So Darth Maul and the door, the perspective's a little off. And those are things as the behind the scenes being there and working with the other photographers and myself shooting this stuff, we see and notice. But to the everyday folks, it's just a slight perspective. The door seems a little bit bigger than it probably should have been. But we don't know a lot of times, what backgrounds are going to send, what the figure is that has come right off the line for us, because it's before it's been mass produced. So I know there is some kind of delay in that. And I think a lot of time they do it so that there's no possible leak in the system. You know what I mean? Like because how many times has story plots been leaked by Lego? I love Lego, but how many times has something been leaked because they post the minifig or something just out of context and it starts putting pieces of the story together? And I think Hasbro doesn't do that. They maintain their digital content DCL or whatever digital content library that they have for third parties, for Amazon and everyone to use. They're very strategic on when that stuff's accessed. So that could be why we see a little delay in Hasbro. I don't know all their decisions, but from my experience having worked with them, I do recall those kind of things happening on a routine basis. Well, hold on. We still got some other comments here. Here we go. And imagine Funkos are quicker to produce too, with no articulation. Yeah, it could be because I would imagine it's a solid piece. You're not worrying about moving parts and having to, justify if it's working or it's not going to make the cut because this arm doesn't move because a soft good piece or more rubbery style kind of vinyl is in the way. Like it could be a cape or a jacket, like you see like Andor and those guys wear. Return of the Jedi. What are you saying? What you're saying makes total sense. Yeah. Again, you don't know, and I really feel that we're trying to be like Grogu is a great example of that, guys. They were so tight-lipped that they lost a year and a half, almost 2 years of sales, because by the time it finally got released and we finally got to meet Grogu, Baby Yoda, everybody else and their grandmother, like the first Baby Yoda or Grogu I got was a crocheted one that someone's mother made. Nothing out there. So I think that they learned a valuable lesson by having something so late to the game. Let's see, we got. Have you guys been playing with the BBC? I don't know what that was.
I think there's some comments being put in the chat that shouldn't be read out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm like Bad Batch. What? Clones? What's that? Oh my gosh. All right.
Okay, so yeah. Next, we also got this comic cover of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I like it. I do really like the retro comics and stuff, but I think it's just tough when people are getting, or Funko really is doing the same mold, but just with a different paint job.
Yeah, this is a tough one, Lex. This is a tough one for me because I love the retro series. I didn't mind him in the purple robe, and literally just having gone through these again yesterday, that literally is the same exact sculpt. Same exact sculpt. The reason I'd like to get this is because I like the comic book covers. My wife just got me that nice comic book artwork on glass that I want to mount on my wall. And I thought, great, I'll mount that. And I've got comic book 1 and 2 with Luke and Boba Fett. That'll look great under it. And then I heard rumor there might be a Vader comic, pop comic cover coming. So when I saw this one, it says makes kind of sense because they kind of usually do 1 and 2. Like they release them one right after another. So if they do Kenobi, probably Vader would be 04, if that rumor is true.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the Boba Fett one. That was a easy pickup at Walmart. Had to grab that one.
Yeah, and I love it. I did get. Did you get the Leia T-shirt? Any of you guys get the Target Con?
My Target doesn't have it yet.
I did. I'm actually wearing the shirt, and
Is that the one you're wearing?
Yep, that's the one that I've got on, and I've also got the Princess Leia.
Man, it looks so good.
I'm a big fan of them. I just wish Funko was doing different molds, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's so many things they could have done, with her in so many different scenes. It would have been great. Like, even if they did, the Power of the Galaxy one if they had to redo one, why didn't they do that? That was a really cool one. The dress is kind of toiled and, it looks a little worn and weathered a bit more because she was in the trash dump, the trash compactor. They could have done that. Would have been better as a retro because at least it would have been a different one.
Yeah.
A little bit different at least. I don't know. I get a little bummed when they just kind of recycle the same pop. I do.
Yeah, I think the cool pose for Leia would be kind of like when she's leaning over, pointing at R2, like when she's doing the recording to send to Obi-Wan. That'd be a cool one.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're gonna do it. They make so much money off of it.
Yeah, but they could have done like a holo Leia, like you said, Brandon. That would have been kind of cool in a retro look.
Yeah.
That would have been really kind of doing a little bit of a change up. That would have been actually really a great idea.
Yeah, I'd like that one.
Yeah, I would have much rather seen that.
I'm still gonna get the T-shirt one though. It's too nice. You just gotta have that Leia.
Yeah, that T-shirt is good. I think that's what got it because I never picked up the Boba Fett one or the Chrome Trooper one, but that T-shirt's fire. Absolute fire.
I agree.
Yeah, and then the last piece of pop news that we got was this, which I feel like continues resurfacing over and over, but we haven't seen anything. But apparently Scarlet Joker kind of rebranded and said that they're coming soon is supposed to mean within the month. I don't know. I feel like it's not valid until we actually see it, but I would love for these pops to be made, unfortunately.
Yeah. Battle Droid too, yeah. Those would all be good. I personally think the movie posters should have, I mean, even though they have the Amazon ones that came out with the Duel of the Fates, like with Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Maul, like they have that scene that you can take out of box and put together. But I think that would be a good movie poster with those three. Even make it like $80 to $90, even though like the New Hope one was R2 and Luke, and that ran for about $59.99. But I mean, you could add that third figure in there, and people are going to buy that, no doubt.
Yeah. See, I wanted them to make the posters as opposed to, because the posters don't really, to me, seem any different than the comic cover, like with the exception they're 6 inches as opposed to 4 inches, right?
Right.
And I would have my idea would have been make the damn poster the entire mold. So the poster should be the pops set up like the poster.
Oh,
If they go flush with the poster and they kind of have that 3D piece, you don't have to print the whole pop. You could print just a portion of it to give it that like a like a fresco or something like
Yeah.
that. I think that would have been a cooler approach to it, because otherwise you've got this big clear plastic with a 6-inch pop, which is totally different from any other size. And then you got the poster behind. It's to me, they could have done something really fresh and new. And I don't know why they went that direction, but it is what, and I think they look good with some of the Disney ones, because I don't know if you've seen some of the new Disney ones, but like the Robin Hood with the animation with the fox and stuff like that. Those look like the cartoon came off a page and turned right into a Funko. Like they're so colorful, so rich in texture. The sculpts are great. They're beautiful. And so I think they look good as the poster, but like the Star Wars one it's just not, and they have so many movies. Are they going to continue doing it? Are they going to do something different? I don't necessarily want to see the same exact style. I like to see them break off and do something different. It's just, again, it's personal opinion.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then we got Niels that says hi. And then that kid Gabe said, please don't be NFTs. But I don't think these specifically are going to be NFTs, but I know that they are making Star Wars digital pops, which is going to be interesting. And he also said, finally, a new Padme pop, though. So that would be nice, because the only one that we have right now is that blue box. That's like super expensive.
$200. Yeah. It's too rich for most people's blood, that one, at this point. But I put it this way. I want that, if they're going to do a Queen Amidala in the throne, I'm already going to go to a gentleman who does Star Wars like cardboard backgrounds, and I'm going to get the Theed throne room back. I'm just going to order it now and hope that they make it. Yeah, like, order it now, put it away, hope they make it. Because if they do, I want to shoot that. And it's a perfect little cardboard diorama. It's perfect. It's got depth to it and everything. So like, I'm just going to go ahead next week and order that when I get paid on Friday, and hope and cross my fingers that they give us a new Amidala.
Yeah, that would be good. And then Mikey said, our first battle droid, interesting to see what they do with it. Yeah, I'd be interested too. But I mean, I think me, Chris, and Patrick have always said that Funko does one thing really well all the time, which is doing droids.
And creatures. They kill it. They kill it on them. Yeah, and if they do a battle droid, like, could they do like, the big heavier battle droid? Maybe because that head is so small and almost tucked into the chest and body. Maybe the body is the part of the bauble. I don't know. They could. I'm not the creator, but I'm sure they could create something like that where that battle droid would be great to have. Because we even had him in the Mandalorian, in the first season. So it would be nice to do something with that. And we don't have. And they made the normal battle droid a wacky wobbler. I think Christopher might actually have it.
I think he does. He has a few of the wacky wobblers.
But I'm excited for this line. Put it this way, I'm saving the gift card for $100 that I won to my local collectible store just for when these come out. And I was in there the other day and I almost pulled cash in my pocket. Right. And my son was like, but Dad, don't you have a gift card? I'm like, you're right. But I'm saving that gift card because I know they're coming out with a bunch of pops here. So we're in like a lull here. So soon they're going to dump a bunch and I'm going to have no money. So I want to use that gift card for when those come out. But I did pass by a concept pop that I've been wanting and looking for. So apparently the one that was a Disney park exclusive had more of the curvature of the helmet and the more of the curved face and eyes. That concept pop. And I didn't get it. It was at Five Below, and I had gone to all the Five Belows in my vicinity and couldn't find him. I happened to go into the toy vault yesterday, and he was there, and I should have put him on hold, and I didn't. I had planned going today, but I just had too busy of a morning. But I'm probably going to have to run by there tomorrow just to pick him up because I want to have that one. I'm looking at the other concept Vader. I bought that one off someone through Macari. No box. The box got all trashed and they were all upset and they were just looking to sell it. And I got it for $8. So I can't complain, but I do want that other one because it's just a neat looking Vader. And I think even that one, more so than the one I have, looks more like the original Macquarie drawing than this one.
Gotcha. Yeah, but that was pretty much all the pop news that we have. So I think that we can move into our main
Our
discussion.
discussion. All right, let's move into the discussion then.
Boom, boom.
I spec.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
All right. So, Brandon, let's start with you. What were your thoughts of those first 3 episodes?
Man, I mean, I like how they started off with like a slow pace and a repetitive theme. You know, we're catching back up. It's been a while since we've seen the Bad Batch, and I like how they do that. You know, here's what's been going on with Omega. I love how that she's almost like the main focus of this entire little franchise that they're starting. Because, you know, spoiler. Are we doing spoilers on here?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can do spoilers, but just forewarning, if you haven't watched it yet, we are going to be talking about it. So this is your chance to exit now.
I didn't really want to. I wasn't going to go too deep into it, but I didn't want to do it. And one of you guys hit me like, dude, shut your mouth.
No, you're good. If they haven't watched it yet, we gave them a chance to leave. So I think you're good.
All right. But yeah, you know, like how it's just, it's looking like it's tying into the sequel trilogy. I like how they're actually giving it a good approach, you know, that's already a touchy subject. But I think, you know, with Filoni's brain in the entire operation, it's all going to be good. But yeah, I mean, the second episode, you know, we're diving in and seeing a whole new group of, or a small group of clones. And it gives you, you know, an emotional roller coaster, you know, and you get to see, you know, some of these poor kids, you know, that weren't used for, you know, what they were supposed to be used for. But at the same time, that's okay because they weren't, you know, ones, you know, causing havoc. You know, they weren't in Order 66 by chance. So that's, you know, putting them to the side gives you a whole different perspective. It opens the story. But then we go right back to Omega and Crosshair, you know, to kind of wrap up the day. And I mean, Shadows of Tantus is, I mean, what you expect. It was crazy. It was right from the start. We're rolling, you know. So, and then obviously towards the end, you're like, holy, you know, like what is going on? Like you would have never. I went way back to season 1, episode 1, thinking like I would have never seen this happening, like at all. So, I mean, yeah, I love how they're tying it in. So, yeah, first 3 episodes, amazing. 3 out of 3.
Okay.
I can't agree more, Brandon. I think that there was something with the Kevin Kiner's music that reminded me of the final 3 seasons of Clone Wars. It had that kind of vibe to it, very dark, very ethereal. There's just something about that tone. But in this one, and I was curious on your opinion on this, Lex, I felt that there was this whole thing of cyclatory in the first and third episode, big time. Even in the camera angles they chose, kind of reminded me of Revenge of the Sith. When you're looking down into the operating room on Anakin, you don't see that looking down shot often. So as soon as I saw that, it harkened back to that. But then as you see people are kind of walking kind of like a cycle, they're kind of coming just as we're seeing every day the monotony of Omega and Crosshair passing by, going through their circular motions of what's going on, and even more emphasized by the blood vials circling in the counter, you know, going. It just had that there's a sense of urgency, and at the same time there isn't. Everything's going its course, right? It's going its course. So I thought that was a really neat little key thing that is underlaid in the entirety of these first 3 episodes, but you really saw it in the first and third, and thought that was a really cool thing they did. A lot of other little callbacks was both the reminded me of both Phantom Menace and the last season of Mandalorian, is when they went to go to the sea in the vault, and it opens up and you've got Clone Commando standing out in front, right? And then you've got Palps himself walking with a hemlock, and you've got those red laser kind of like force fields in between each little few steps they take. And I was like, ooh, that's harkening back too. So you're starting to see a little bit more. And again, one of the things I noticed, and I don't know where to theorize on it, But when they show him in that room, that cloning chamber, whatever, they finally got into the vaults and it panned down again, looking at the floor, I got the vibe of the Mortis gods with all those red kind of drawings and etchings on the floor, even though it's not people, but the patterns kind of reminded me a little more of Mortis than anything that I've seen. And I don't know if I'm just thinking that, or if anyone else thought that, but I thought that was neat. And they kind of snuck it in because they were able to do those other shots before, so it didn't seem so awkward. So when you saw it, it just kind of felt natural. But I felt that there's a reason we saw that. It wasn't just Filoni's always got something up his sleeve where he doesn't just show something to show something or just for a different angle. He tends to, have a story behind if there's a visual to it. And so I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting the way those red markings on the floor were. So who knows what that's going to lead to, but I don't know.
It's a good look. It's a good look.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but I did really enjoy the first 3 episodes. I felt like there was a lot of loose ends that were being tied up within these first ones, and they were really kind of laying the groundwork for what's to come. I mean, with the second episode specifically, we got the boys, the little clone boys that were on Kamino before Kamino fell. So then, they were like, yeah, they basically like took us and we thought we were going to go do training and stuff. And then we ended up here and we were abandoned. So they kind of tied that up. Like what happened to the remainder of clones that were on Kamino before they got pushed off before, Kamino fell. I think it's interesting. Brandon mentioned it with the sequel trilogy. That's basically what I got from episode 3 is that's what they are building towards essentially by trying to allow Palps to clone himself. And I just think it's interesting. And I've been a big fan of the first 3 episodes, so I'm very excited to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, I think it is well done. Do we see Palpatine's son, the Rey's dad? Like is that where we're leading up to? Are we going to see the abominations? Maybe that's kind of hinting more towards Snoke, and we kind of saw in the Mando or whatnot, like those other vessels or was that Rise of the Sky? Well, I can't even remember. We saw Snoke's look like in the thing. I think both you kind of saw snippets of that. So I'm curious as to where that's going to lead us and how they get us there. But I do have my faith in Filoni trying to keep that very George Lucas feel to how we present that. And I think him and Favreau are keen on knowing what has pissed off or angered the fandom and what things that they've done that have brought because let's be honest, if it wasn't for the Mandalorian, I think we'd be having 2 different conversations with 2 different factions of people at this point. Right. Yeah. So I think the Mandalorians really brought us all back in the way that they're really piecing these pieces together, whether it's expanding or explaining and trying to retcon, or not necessarily have to retcon, but trying to fit these pieces in nicely like Tetris, So I have full faith in what those guys are going to do, but I definitely think the season's going to be dark. There's just no way it's not going to be like a woo. That was awesome. It's going to be brought to you by Kleenex. Like, I mean, no joke. D. Bradley Baker even had the packets of tissues that Lucasfilm had handed out as a promo. So I believe if they're handing it out to people that work on this all the time, us as fans are going to be crying our eyes out. So you probably definitely want to get the pus with lotion if you can.
Yeah. The Kid Gabe says, odds on if we see Vader this season. I think the odds are pretty good, to be honest. And I feel like a lot of our fellow friends and stuff in their prediction videos, they've mentioned Vader and they've mentioned Boba Fett. They're bringing all these different, bounty hunters around. So maybe they'd possibly bring Boba Fett. But I think the chances are very high. But I don't want to get my hopes up. So I'm going to lower it a little bit. But I would love to see Vader.
Love to see Vader. I mean, we got to see Palpatine. And he looks so... As soon as that hatch opened up and you saw the 2 royal guards there in the red, I was like, game over. We got Palpatine. Whew. And I think when you saw him, he almost kind of steals the air out of the show, right? He's like, whew, Palpatine's there. Like, so I think very much like when they talked about Rogue One, how to use Vader very precisely. I think they're going to do something because they did that in Rebels too. We didn't get a lot of Vader. He was usually a hologram talking to somebody until he had to confront, over at, he didn't get to confront Maul, but he basically went against Kanan and Ezra. And then we saw him again where he had to fight Ahsoka. So I think they're going to balance that very similarly, in my opinion. And I think that you guys are right that everyone's hoping, but I do think we'll probably get him towards the end, and it'll just be like a snippet here and there to kind of start like nipping at him and getting rid of him.
Yeah, I feel like that's what you have to do. I don't know if you guys have heard, but like a lot of people have said that this is like ending George's era. So if you think about it, look, you bring back Boba Fett, meeting Omega, there's significance, Alpha, Omega, like that goes together. You look at, I'm a huge fan of Quinlan Voss. I don't know if you guys have heard me on anything else or seen anything on my channel. I'm a Quinlan guy. Like I want Disney to like hit me up if they need like a young Quinlan or something. Like let me. I love Quinlan so much, but I think Quinlan's gonna show up. I mean, that's 100% my fan service. That's what I need. And back to the Vader thing, though, I think we're going to see him. I think the odds are pretty high. But my thing with Vader is not seeing him come back and cause chaos, which he probably will. But do you guys think that Vader knows about what Palpatine has going on? Could this be something Palpatine's hiding?
I don't think he does.
I don't know obviously Vader that's his master, Palpatine's his master. So he's going to obey everything he does, like from the comics and throughout the original trilogy. But I think with Vader throwing him down the shaft, that's not going to end him, obviously. No. And if he knew what Palpatine was up to, he probably wouldn't have done it that way. That probably wouldn't have been his approach. No, so I think this is behind the scenes.
That's a good point. Because I think if Vader knew that Palpatine is trying to cheat death and yet he wasn't able to help Padme, exactly. I think he'd just impale him then and there.
Yes.
He'd be his rage could easily take him down, probably. Yeah. So I think that's got to be kept secret from him. But I do think the Quinlan would be cool because we definitely have a confirmation Asajj is in it, right? So they're going to have to figure out that Dark Disciple, was she killed in that or not? Like, so they're going to have to either set us up like this is prior to that or this is after, and there's an explanation of why she's still alive. But I think that would be a great setup for a number of reasons, because if you have her and you introduce us to Quinlan, then I honestly would like to see a series, whether it's animated or live action, where you kind of do the Underground Railroad in Star Wars, but it's the path, and you have Quinlan kind of helping young Jedi escape through the path, and maybe Asajj and him helping that, and maybe we have eventually Omega in there. Like I joked the other day on Star Wars Sith stream, saying that what if Commander Cody, we don't see him we don't really see him anymore, but what if him and Omega took off and went, I don't know, space Greece, another galaxy, Peridia, I don't know, care where, but he takes her off world or out of galaxy to keep her safe, and that's why we never see him again, and we only see Gregor and those guys. Maybe that's what, I don't know. Maybe we see more of a clone rebellion and he bites the dust in the clone rebellion. I'm hoping we lead to something with that, and that is a spinoff for animation. I personally would love that. I don't know. Oh, Kid Gabe's loving that. Quinlan is the goated.
Yep, he is. But I guess if you're a big Quinlan fan, how do you think that Asajj is going to fit into all of this? Jaden asked.
Ooh, I mean, you can look at it one way, obviously, with we're even getting other characters like Marin from Jedi Survivor, like that entire arc. Like we know that their power and Mother Talzin, like all of that, the Night Sister magic it's impeccable. Like it's not like the Force. In my opinion, I think it's just a little bit above the Force. I mean, you can bring people back. You can, you don't see like Qui-Gon. Obviously, he went on and went with the Force, but if they could do things like the magic, he would still be alive. So I'm thinking, with Asajj being back on Dathomir when she's laid to rest, pretty much, I think there's still some remnants of some sort bringing her back.
Yeah,
And
maybe Quinlan, because he went to the dark side, used some of that knowledge to bring her back because he just didn't want her to go. There could be that opposite of Vader. I love
yeah,
you so much, I'm bringing you back no matter how much damage it does to me. It could be the reversal of that. There's so many ways it could get played out, but it's too interesting not to tap into it.
right. And I mean, why not? We as fans would get to see that, and who's not going to like that? I mean, and a lot of people don't know too that Quinlan could hear the Night Sisters, like they spoke to him. So him not being, a Dathomiri or any of that, like being, from Khufu, that's all. Like that's the only thing, he's just like a human, pretty much. But him being able to hear the Night Sisters and the Dathomiri, like that's something that should not be taken for granted at all. Like, so
Mm-mm.
I think maybe he brings back Asajj Ventress, but I mean, if we kind of get like a all out war of all of our heroes per se, go against the Empire, I mean, who says no to that?
Yeah, and we've seen Darth Maul brought back by some. Well, he was kind of brought back by his hatred, but the Night Sister magic pretty much gave him life and legs again.
Mm-hmm.
I think in Ahsoka we're kind of getting a hint at that, like the Night Sisters might be called upon to rise up, whatever those things in those coffins were. I don't know, but there seem to be a lot of them. So
Yeah.
could they be part of the night troopers that were there? Could they be Night Sisters from the crypt? And God forbid, imagine having an army of like Night Sisters and all their different magics and there's no real Jedi to battle you. I mean, that's a pretty heavy-handed side to be on. So I don't know where they're leading, but it could, like you said, Brandon, it could lead us to give us a little more down that path.
Mm-hmm. Plus, also, like, I feel like they know what they're doing. They're not just gonna like. Why on earth would you have Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan Kenobi just randomly be like, "Oh yeah, Quinlan was here." Like, what's the point? They didn't have to add that at all. They could have said,
No.
"Oh, Jedi have been here," and that's it. That's all you hear of it. Like, what is the point of saying Quinlan was here and he gets a smile and talks to Tala and then Leia's asking questions about the Jedi? Like, it's all for a reason.
Yeah,
So
I thought that might be a setup for a season 2 where they can kind of go through that a little bit more.
show the path a little bit.
I think as fans we need that only because as an original fan, I didn't think I thought Obi-Wan was the last Jedi and then there's Yoda, right? Okay,
Yeah.
and they're teaching Luke because he's the last chance, and they're like, oh, but there's another. Okay, then there's Leia possibly too. But now, as we've learned, right, you've got all these other Jedi that have been Ezra Bridger and all these other everywhere else. So you need to explain that. You need to give us some more, like whether they went to another galaxy, and that's why there's maybe no Jedi in this particular galaxy at this particular time. But I think there needs to be some kind. And I hate to say retcon, but there needs to be some kind of canon explanation to this, so that it can bring the fans back together. Because you got the old school fans. Well, this is ruining Star Wars because there was no Jedi. I get you, but you know what? I cast that aside because maybe they're just in hiding and in fear for their lives. I mean, you saw what they did to the kid in Obi-Wan when they hung him, right? They don't care.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay to kind of give us those hints, but let's give us a little more richer, in-depth story as to what was going on. Was there the path? Is it like an underground railroad where you're smuggling them to different places? Because we saw in Rebels, they were, and that was like, obviously before the original trilogy, that in timeline wise, that they were actually going and capture. The Emperor was having the young kids captured. Then we see in Obi-Wan that they have these people frozen, kind of like in the amber, like Jurassic Park. So what are you doing with them? Like, are they a trophy? Are you studying that? Like, what's going on? So I'd like to see some of these things answered personally.
Right.
Yep.
It's crazy too. A lot of people just hated the Kenobi series, and it's like, dude, there's so many unanswered questions. It opens so many doors. You could have 19 spinoffs. You could have why those Jedi are there. You could have, how could, Vader not sense that Leia was his daughter? Like, and they're all in the same area, like, where's Reva going? Is she gonna be a test raider? Like, come on, like there's so many doors to be opened. So it's more content. I don't know why people would hate that.
Yeah, I agree. And coming from the original, OGs, I look at it as like we went for years with no other content but the first three. So I know people, Kenobi. I could pan and give it a thumbs down or this is crap. But to me, I just love that there's more content, there's more story. I get to talk with people like Lex and you and Christopher about this kind of content on a weekly basis because it keeps us enthralled with Star Wars still. So I'd love to see us keep going that direction. And for me, I thought Kenobi is great. Do I think every part of it? I don't try to overanalyze it as much. Maybe for little things like you said, like the Quinlan thing. That I zone in on that. I'm like, okay, hopefully we get more of that. But also like when that first appearance of Vader, I don't know, but I felt that was like rich when he showed up in the town, and that was the first time Obi-Wan laid eyes on him. In the suit, like there was so much going on, and without saying anything, and he walks down the street. And the best part is he didn't have to do anything. All he had to do was start choking people, dragging their lifeless bodies down the street, knowing that Obi-Wan was going to react. Just like the Grand Inquisitor said, the Jedi are their own worst enemy, because they have to, live and die by those values. And they're not going to just let innocent people get harmed. So he knew the moment he walked in that town, he was going to draw him out. So I thought that was so underrated as a way to give story. And then when they were there, they had that little bit of banter. Was it the greatest of the fights? No, but it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be an amuse bouche is what we're going to get in episode 6. So I did enjoy a lot of the things in Obi-Wan. I wasn't a total downer on it, but again, I come from when you only have 3 movies all your life and then they release everything else. The Vader scene in the town felt like a horror movie scene, like stalker slasher shit. It was dark. I mean, that was dark. I mean, the woman screamed, he just ripped her out, cracked her head, dumped her, dragged the other person's body, and kept them coming. It was just brutal. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. And then we also had this question: are we going to see Asajj Ventress? And will there be a Funko Pop? So, I mean, they've already kind of confirmed that we are at some point going to see Asajj because she was in the trailer. We got a glimpse of her, or really like a solid look at her in the trailer. But I can't speak to Funko. I would hope that they would seize this opportunity to finally give us an Asajj Ventress Funko Pop. But I think that kind of segues us into our top 5 pops that we would like to see from episode 1 through 3 be made.
Absolutely, Lex. I can't concur with you.
Magnificent, aren't they?
All right. So I had randomly just kind of picked out like 10, 11 images here, guys, so that, and I don't know what you guys are picking. So, we can scan through them and put the image up if it's one that we've already pulled. And there wasn't too many new characters. So I'm sure what we have will count for everyone's top 5. But Lex, why don't you lead us off on this segment here with who would your top 5 be?
So one of the characters that I would really want to see is actually Mox, because I thought it was really cool that they brought Daniel Logan back to kind of voice his character. I thought that was like a really good homage, essentially. So I found this character interesting, and just their story and how they kind of tied that loose end up based off of, I think it was the season 1 finale. So I mean, we went a decent period of time not knowing what happened to all these clones after they got shipped off, and I just really liked that they brought Daniel Logan back. I thought that was really cool.
Is he the one that actually voiced them? Because I was curious on that.
So Daniel Logan only voiced this character. There was another person that voiced the other 2, and I forget his name, but he was in like X-Men and stuff like that. I forget.
Oh, okay.
His name was, but he voiced the other 2 boys. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. I don't know where it's going to take us, Lex, but that's a good call right there.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then, of course, we can never have enough clones. I think that Funko needs to capitalize on this. I mean, we have Lego builders that build all these armies. We could have Funko people build their armies. So I think that, it was a cool little clone action. So I thought that would be cool to see. Maybe more
Yeah, and I'd love
clones.
to see this officially called Stormtrooper Phase 1.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that would be kind of cool because we call it like concept series, Macquarie inspired. But yeah, I think we should officially kind of get this as Stormtrooper Phase 1 at this point.
Just a clean looking Stormtrooper, too. Like,
Yeah.
I like the look of that one a lot.
Yeah.
But who knows? And then I think a older Omega would be really cool because I think that, based off the kind of repetitiveness of the first episode that Patrick was mentioning, it really played into the fact that she's been there a while and she's clearly aged. Her hair's gotten longer. She looks a little bit older. So I think an older version of Omega, because we've only got one version of her as a Funko Pop. So I think maybe an older version of her with the longer hair would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. Because we did not get, unfortunately, a season 2, which I really am disappointed because the Black Series version of Omega with her little cap and her bow looked awesome. And I think we missed the boat not getting that as a Funko.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And then we got Batcher, which I loved. I really liked. I think it really brought out the compassionate side that we already knew Omega had and her nurturingness and stuff. I called it miles away in episode 3 when Batcher comes and saves her from the trooper. But I think it'd be cool. Funko does a really good job with like animal, different species, and droids. So I think that could be a cool pop.
I agree. That would be a nice because they've done those little icicle foxes and stuff from the Last Jedi and stuff. Why not do this character?
Yeah.
It was definitely unique. They brought in some new species and stuff. Like there was that other. I don't think
that big thing that these guys attacked and swarmed on. Yeah, that was cool.
Was unique. And then we got Granddaddy Palps himself. He looked so menacing. I thought it was phenomenal. Just his eyes, I thought looked really cool. Just the Clone Wars look, I think, to this animation, like really draws me in. I think they translate very well to Funko Pops. I'm definitely a big fan of the Clone Wars Bad Batch Pops that we've gotten so far. So I think it'd be cool to get a Palps version of that versus what we've already gotten, kind of. But he looked menacing. It was
absolutely great. And I kept trying to think when I was thinking of my top 5, how would they make him kind of Clone War? Because you can't quite angle the chin like you could the beards. He has no beard. So I don't know. I was thinking because what I noticed on this, his Sith eyes were glowing in the shadows of that hood. And so I was like, could they do really good looking Sith eyes on this one? I hope so, because that would be awesome.
What would be cool is if they did a glow in the dark pop and it was the eyes that glow, but then also they have the hood like cover like half the eyes, so you see just like half of the eyeball, and that's what glows. That'd be tough.
That would be dope. Yeah.
Value too if they make it glow in the dark.
Yeah, because the glow in the dark, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're kind of lame, but that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I think Funko does a good job with the other lines when it comes to like the glow in the dark and the black light and stuff. I haven't been too impressed with the glow in the dark on the Star Wars Pops, but if they could pull that off, I would be a big fan. Or maybe even have like a lights and sound action where it kind of like twinkles a little bit. That could be cool, but I don't know. We'll see. And then this droid was kind of in, I don't even know what that area was called, but kind of taking care of the, the animal.
Like the animal pen. I didn't know what to think, what to call that area.
Yeah, but I thought it was a unique droid, and Omega definitely took him out. But I think Funko does a great job with droids, and I'll say that forever. So I think it'd be really cool to see this one. But I don't know. I feel like it wasn't such a main droid, like Ned B or something like that for them to make it.
Yeah, and I picked this guy too just because I love what they do with droids. So I was like, oh, it'd be a cool droid to have, just to have another cool droid. But yeah, I agree, Lex. He's cool. He's cool looking.
Or even maybe like him like laying there with like the container on top of him. That would be interesting.
Yeah, holding a data pad. Who knows? They could do anything cool with him. You know what I mean? It'd be pretty awesome.
Or like maybe with that thing that he was holding, that kind of like electric. It was like
Like a shocker.
yeah, like that could be cool, but I don't know.
Yeah, because they've done that for the Loki with these. I can't remember what they call them, but the TVC has those things that they can kind of make
Oh
you.
yes.
They disintegrate you kind of, and they put you into another world or whatever. But yeah, they could do something like that. It would be kind of cool, and you could put some of that nice purple acrylic around it.
Yeah. Who knows? And then Mr. Hemlock himself, I think he would make a great Pop. Maybe have him like standing there with like his hand or something, because I don't know what his deal is, but I feel like he's always grabbing his hand and like adjusting
That
his
black glove, right?
I don't know
There's
what it
something
is.
about it. I don't know what it's going on. Did he lose it and regrow it? It was,
Oh.
right? Did he lose it, regrow it? Like what's going because it's only the one hand in a black glove, and we've only seen that for like Luke. So what's going on with that? There's
Yeah.
something about that. I don't know what, but I'm curious. Because at first I got excited and I was thinking when I first noticed that, Lex, I was like, is that Luke's hand? I was like, oh no, this happens prior to that. But damn it, that would have been interesting. Did they attach Luke's hand to him or something? What's going on there? But I don't know. It's just odd that he's got one black glove on. It to me, that's odd.
And he's always like like anytime he's standing there, he's always adjusting it. But I kind of like was thinking, I don't know if it's related at all, but Crosshair's hands have been trembling. So I don't know if it could possibly be related to that.
Yes, I think he's degrading, and we're starting to see those effects because he's batch one, right? They're that first batch. So right. I think that he is he's starting to decelerate or degrade, whatever they call it, deceleration. I think he's starting to hit that. And for a sharpshooter, you can't have shaky hands, right? So I don't know. I think they're bringing it up for a reason, and that's going to come into play somewhere in this finale here, I'm sure.
Especially too.
I agree. Hemlock would be a great Pop, and have him interacting somehow, like whether he's doing something with that glove, like you mentioned, like he's doing that, or you do this kind of where he's kind of like the battle echo base where you got Princess Leia next to one of those things. You should have some kind of, I don't know if it's a chart or midichlorian chart or whatever you want to call it, M chart, have something with him standing next to it or something, would just add a little something to it, personally.
Yeah. What I was thinking too is what if he had his hand cut off and they take a Legends Luke approach, and starting from a clone from a hand, maybe Hemlock's hand is used and created to maybe be a clone as a host for Palpatine's experiments. So maybe what's going on is Hemlock, his clone, basically with Palpatine. So it's like combined of them is where we get the Snoke look. Because if you kind of look at Hemlock, the blue eyes that Snoke has as well, that's very obvious. And the way he's just kind of like, this is, like how he's touching his hand a lot. Maybe that's kind of a look. And why is he the only one, as well as Nala say, that can see, down the like the laser hallways to see the subjects? So, I mean, I think Hemlock is going to play even a bigger role. So I think that's why he's kind of being suspect with some of the actions with his hand and stuff. So maybe they're just taking that Legends approach and using it in canon, because I don't think we're ever going to see a Luke fighting a Dark Luke clone. Like, I don't think that.
No, I think that would be confusing, especially for non-hardcore fans that read Legends and all that and know all. I think to see two Lukes battling, people are going to be like, they're turning off. It's too, they're not going to understand. But that's a great theory. Maybe he is the donor to, maybe the hand could have been used. That's a great call. I didn't even think of that. But I know something's up with that hand.
I think there's just too many features of Hemlock, and he's used too much. Like when we see him right at the end of season 2, they like zoom on him, like that. Those small things that Star Wars does, where they zoom on a character, and it's like, wait, why? Like,
why? Yep.
What is this about? So I don't know. I mean, it's a far fetched, but I just think Hemlock has there's too much to him. But I mean, if they make a Pop, it's going in the collection easy.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Jyn Erso's father, you know what I mean, as a Pop, and he was in it for a moment, in Rogue One. So I definitely think we've seen more Hemlock than we have him. So yeah, let's get him as a Pop. especially he's going to have the cool cloner patch and everything on his uniform.
The slit eyebrow.
We don't have anything with that. We don't have anything with that. We don't have any young clones from the original, Clone Wars or the original prequel trilogy. With they could have done with the headsets, the little kids at a computer desk with the clone pack. They could have done anything with that. They haven't done that. They never did a Pershing, Dr. Pershing, who's got that.
Oh.
So this could be something kind of cool. I did find something interesting though, and I'm not sure. Could Pershing be related to the female clone that Omega's talking to?
Oh, Emery?
Could that be his mother? Because he talks about growing up in his mother's lab. And I was like,
that is
like, growing up in his mother's lab, how many women are in, now that we're kind of getting more introduced, how many women were in the lab for the Emperor working? As we can see on Tantus, it's on lockdown. So how many people could be working in there? I don't know.
And what did his mother struggle with? What killed her necessarily?
Oh, there's something that had she been able to be cloned or cloning was they could have fixed her. That might say she's more human than clone, but maybe the cloning was only used for Palpatine's purposes, not just to fix a clone.
Yeah.
Maybe he's kind of like clones when they can terminate, they can, disintegrate for all I care. Any cloning purposes are reserved for me. You know what I mean? I don't know. Lex, your thought.
I don't know. I feel like that totally threw me for a loop. Some of this, the Snoke analogy for Hemlock, Pershing's mother possibly being Emery. I feel like there's a lot of good speculation that's happening. And I think I'm going to have to do some deeper research on it. But I know Hemlock is an important character. They've made that very clear throughout the season so far.
He's up there with Tarkin, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like Tarkin, him, and you've got Krennic, kind of running parallel. And all three of the Hemlock, Tarkin, and Krennic are all fighting to be like Vader, to be the right hand of the Emperor, right? They all want to be that next one in charge. So we could see sacrifices, or like, Brandon, you're pointing out, the Hemlock, maybe that's his sacrifice to get that higher promotion, or, to be that right hand of the Emperor, getting his good graces. Maybe lopped off his own hand to use for cloning. Who knows?
I mean, he's really vying.
Through it, or who knows, or maybe it's robotic. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's really vying, and he made that comment when Palpatine was leaving, and he was like, "Well, am I going to get that chief of science position or whatever it was called?" So he is really adamant about that. I don't know why, but I did find the Pershing comment. It was, when I was younger, I lost my mother, the person who I admired most. Her heart gave out. Had a simple organ cloning been available on my homeworld, her death would have been easily preventable.
Yeah, and what does that mean? Just cloning the heart? They weren't doing that because if you can't create a whole clone, you don't have a clone at all. I don't know. And again, is he being selfish? And any cloning is secretive, and it's all for his purpose, nobody else. And that could be something.
Plus, if you think about it, that was an hour-long episode, and I think the best part of it was just being on Coruscant with better technology. And why would they make such a quote unquote, and this is my opinion, more of a pointless episode? Obviously it leans with the entire series, but out of all of them, that's the lowest on my list. But I mean, like you said, Pershing could be the daughter or the son of Emery. So maybe just linking that, they did say this is the last thing of George, so I mean, why not? Why not make a connection like that? I mean, to give more significance to that episode, because if that's the fact,
gives more to Pershing,
then I love that episode a lot more,
Yeah, you know what? And if it is true, it gives Pershing a little more clout because he was an actual born being. He wasn't cloned. Right. So his mother was able to give birth and reproduce and okay, because we also heard Palpatine's clone helped married or fell in love. His wife gave birth, and then we got Rey. So it could kind of at least transition that clones could have something more. I think the only time that we've maybe seen that is the ones that deserted that Rex had passed through their place. In Clone Wars, I can't remember his character. He was married to the Twi'lek, and they had the farm or whatnot. So he had children, right? So maybe this is kind of segueing a little more into that, but very kind of a low key piece of that, but kind of still tying the ends together. I don't know. It's a great fabric to weave if that's true. Definitely makes that really, really boring episode with Persian in it a little bit more withstandable now, right? If that connects to that, because I honestly think if we're right on that, people are going to go back and watch that episode over again because they're like, oh, that makes sense because this is so who knows?
Yeah. After that, then of course we have Crosshair in his like little prisoner outfit with the little blaster. I did really like that scene where him and Omega kind of like escape together. I thought that was really cool, and how they like work together. And he was like, "Oh, you have a plan?" She was like, "No, I'm kind of just improvising." He's like, "Is that a joke?" I just thought that was like perfect.
I thought that was good, but then because it just a day before when she came, he's like, "Leave me alone, just forget about it. I've already tried to escape." Yeah, like so he's already tried, and obviously been tortured, and they broke his spirit. And then he said, if I was escaping, I wouldn't have thought twice about leaving you. Like, so I think he has a hell of a lot of respect. And then I loved, I just almost want to cry thinking of Tech, but when he goes, you have a plan 74 or whatever that was, and she's like, oh yeah, Tech made me memorize all of it. He goes, figures he would. Like, it was just a cool callback because that's very much like Tech, and the banter between Crosshair and him all the time. It was very fitting. But I felt the camaraderie between the batch, even without them being present, and through the words of Crosshair and action. So I'm hoping we'd get a little more redemption. But I am curious for you to ask you guys, what did you think about that one scene? Again, shot from high to low, like a movie piece would be, but you have all the regs, the new Phase 1 stormtroopers walking out with, and then you have that one special looking clone trooper who we saw before was kind of like they're kind of like their special ops guy, but he kind of had the same outfit that we saw Crosshair wearing before. I think some people might feel that it could be Tech in that uniform. I think it could be, but that would almost be so obvious because I feel like, are they going to do another Marok? They're going to set us up to think it's going to be, and it's, a fart, a leg fart. So I don't know what they'll do to us on this one. I want to believe it could be Tech, but I don't want my heart to go there and get brokenhearted over it's just not him and it's something else. Because when we unmasked the last guy, he just looked like another clone. So there wasn't anything really different. So I don't know. But it would make for probably more drama if they got Tech and Tech is just kind of off. But Tech had maybe, unless they did something to fix his because he had the goggles and stuff. So obviously his eyesight wasn't 100%. So I don't know.
Right.
I'm hoping it's not Tech, and let's leave Tech gone because that made it. I don't want to have to weep again when they have to kill him a second time. I mean, then I'll start feeling like Reva. You kill her once, you kill her twice, she still lives. You can't save Qui-Gon. Come on. So I don't want it to be Tech, but who knows who it could be? I don't know. It could be something else that we don't know. Who knows? I'm curious. I'm curious about that one myself.
Yeah, I do. I have seen the speculation because there was a glimpse of that character in the trailer, and like people were like, "Yeah, that's
it was
Tech."
close up too in the trailer.
But then they also showed his goggles, like the cracked goggles. So did they go and find Tech's body and like they took his goggles, or were those like prior goggles? I don't know what to think.
No, I think those goggles were pretty busted up. So when they found Tech, whether they saved him or they're taking him, let's face it, they're taking back the person. It's not like they're going to bury him. They take him as property. And so I think with those goggles, as beat up as they were, he was severely injured, if not dead. And that was thrown out as emotional bait to get Hunter to turn over. And I think he thought if he turned over, like, Omega be there behind him. But he's got, I don't know. I just feel that it's just a bad situation right now because you got Omega and them leaving. You got Hunter and Wrecker probably on their way there, which will be, oh my gosh, no, please don't. But also taking that Mox character, Lex, that you really liked. If those clones go to that, Star Wars Greek island or whatever they were at with Wanda Sykes' character, I think that would be kind of cool because if Omega gets out and she gets back there, we could have adventures with her and those younger clones together doing something else. Maybe one of those kids, clones, whatever, we see in the Skeleton Crew later. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, I feel there could be set up for other things we don't know yet, that we didn't even think about, or it just kind of breezed over as, oh, just another clone. But it still shows no matter how old or young, the Imperial do not care about the clones. Like, they'd rather them just be dead or left to their own device. And, another question I wanted to ask is, how they had that vine creature, especially in the episode 2? Were those little Sarlaccs that were running around?
Dude, I don't know.
I thought like the Sarlacc, because when you see a Sarlacc, it has legs, like a little belly, and then it's a mouth thing and all its tentacles. So I was like, is that baby Sarlaccs running around the base wild because it's kind of overthrown or it's been overrun by the jungle or whatnot? I don't know. I wasn't sure what those were, but I definitely think all of it is like the experiments like they did like the Xeno monster and stuff back in its day.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I could think of, and I even kind of mentioned it in my reaction video, is that they reminded me of that episode in Rick and Morty where they had the little things that like attached to their face. That's what they looked like to me the entire time. But when they did show the mouth like kind of come up to get them, I did kind of think Sarlacc, but I don't know. But maybe that was one of the experiments and why they needed the Zillow Beast and, things like that kind of just went wrong. But I think the whole point of it essentially is that, they were trying to show that this is where they went after Camino and that they don't care. They'll just, ground zero the whole place, whether there's clones in there or not, just because.
Yeah, because it kind of, when you say that, it reminds me of two things. One, that beast, if it wasn't that, it was that thing that the Quarren had in season 2 of Mando when they tried to get Grogu, that whatever that thing was, because it had a lot of those teeth and stuff. So it could be one of those things. But it also reminded me of leaving those clones is kind of like when we see the young kids of Kenari, Andor and his younger sister, just kind of abandoned on this planet, fending for themselves. Like I kind of felt like, had these clones not come along, that's kind of the life they would have had until they died. You know what I mean? And probably someone on that planet was going to get them anyway. So I am happy that the batch picked them up and, has saved them, because at least there's a more story for the clones. If they need to have something later, you got something in the tank for later. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
Absolutely. I don't know. I think there's a lot that still needs to be kind of covered, but I guess we'll find out as the season goes along.
Oh, yeah.
And then I guess continuing, we've got like a few more, but Emery, I think it's very interesting. Her character is very interesting to me. She's Omega's like big sister, but she's also a clone. So Omega isn't the only female clone. There's 2 of them, maybe even more. I just feel like her character is like such an enigma to me.
There's something odd about it, right? There's just something. There's something they're not telling us that. Yeah, I agree.
She's very stern one episode, she's like very stern one scene, but then like she is like, oh, like that's fine, like you can have your toy, and like shows these gestures of like
she empathizes,
she cares, and it's like, all right, what's going on? Because I mean, who knows? Maybe she's been in this situation, like.
Well, she said that she was left until Hemlock came and found use for her, right? So, like, what did that mean? Like, what were you doing? Where were you at prior to Hemlock finding you and giving? Like, Again, it's so, it feels like they're expanding the story with just a few phrases here and there without giving us a lot to go on. It's like, what's that mean?
Yeah.
You know, which is fine. But I do think you're right. There's something more to this character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they even mentioned, I don't think she was on Camino because they were like, Omega was the only female essentially that was kind of there. But it is weird that she's very rigid, like at some points of the episodes, and then the others she shows the compassion by giving back, the straw made Lula that Omega made. So I don't know. She's definitely an interesting character. I definitely want to see some more people. And we've kind of gotten these as Funko Pops. We've gotten Boss, I think, and one of the green one, I forget his name.
Fixer,
yeah. So I mean, we've gotten, I don't know if they would like redo kind of just like the plain, just all white version, but I do really like the look of these. So I think it'd be cool.
Clean.
But
yeah, I like these, and I think there was another image of one where it had like a black stripe going down the center, but he had no color. It was all white like these guys. Either or, I'd take them. Like I just would love to have some more. I want the whole, clone commandos in the first place. Finish having Scorch and the rest of those. But if you're gonna give us something from this season of Bad Batch, there's so many of these guys have been throughout the first 3 episodes. You can't not give us this guy.
Yeah.
Right? They just look badass. Like, why would you skip this?
Yeah. I like how too when Crosshair like hit one just right in the face as it turned around to fall down, like the blue light like flickered off.
Yes, when he like bangs his head.
Yeah, that was tight.
That was tight. I did like that. Yeah. I like that a lot.
And then the last one that we picked, I don't know if you have any other different ones that you would want to see as Pops, Brandon, but I would love to see Nala Se or like a Kaminoan because we've yet to get those, but I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe I think with those, I mean, we did just get our first Tanwi minifig in the Lego universe, and that is such a clean figure. Like that was maybe 50% of why I got Kenobi Starship at the time. Like it's such a nice minifig, and it makes your collection look real good. But especially like, the bobble, like with the super battle droids we were talking about earlier, it would be hard with their, smaller sized heads. Or maybe they could do like half of the neck solid, and then like in the middle kind of have a small skinny spring. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge bobblehead, but that's kind of the point of Pop, in Funko is, have that bigger head, smaller body. But I mean, they'll figure out how to do it if they do it. But yeah. I would, the list is really good. I think these are all characters that should definitely have some shine in the Funko universe.
Yeah, I like this too. I wouldn't mind seeing her with a vial, or again, kind of like I said, the Hemlock, kind of do what they did with Echo Base with Leia, have that panel. I'd love to see that little cloning machine next to her or something like that. If you had to give like a moment or whatnot. But yeah, I definitely think we need this as a Pop for sure. Give her a data pad, a vial in her hand, something would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We did have one question. Did any of you guys pick up the new Ezra Pop, or did you pre-order it? I think me and Patrick both pre-ordered it.
Jumped on that one, 100%. We're probably in that one that gets this stupid sticker, but I don't care about the sticker. That Pop is just fire. It is just fire. As soon as I saw it, just like you, Lex, you had a great thumbnail for yours because you depicted the moment. But as soon as you see that Pop, it instantly harkens back to that moment. And hence, that's the entire reason I started my little series, Movies That Inspire the Pop, because it's those sculpts, those moments that bring us back. It's the nostalgia of having watched that moment and felt something, like something stirred in us when we saw that, because we realized right then and there when he's like, may the force be with you guys, like, he's gone. Like that's it. And then like for years, for me, not hearing anything about Rebels and wanting a spin-off show or a live action this or whatever, I would have taken anything, because I felt that since the original trilogy, I haven't cared for another Jedi figure like I did Luke, and maybe Ahsoka. But I hadn't really cared about anyone else as much as I did Ezra, because I think we got to see the growth of Ezra through Rebels for the 5 seasons they had, 5-6 seasons, and it was just great to have a new, fresh character, and you really see him mature. And when you see that moment as a pop, take my money. I mean, that was 100% the right one to have done. It was gorgeous. Can't wait. I can't wait for it to come.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that pretty much does it for episode 56. So, Brandon, can you let the people know where they can find you, what your channel's about, if you have anything upcoming that you wanted to share?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram. That's kind of where I spend most of my time outside of YouTube. I really try to, if I'm doing any type of video content, it's definitely on YouTube. The TikTok account as well. It's all at Clan Brand DeLorean. You can find me there. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can just get to me on Instagram. That's the easiest way I can get you. But yeah, I mean, on my channel, I like to talk about lore, theories, Funko, and Lego, of course, as well. I like to, fuel my addiction with the collecting side of things. So, I like to kind of talk about some things individually. In future videos, I have a top 5 series that I just started not too long ago. I kind of go over some top 5, anything from lightsabers to ships to Jedi. Those are the 3 I've done so far. So if anybody has any ideas of anything top 5 they want to see, you know where to find me. But next video coming out will be discussing the retired 2020 Lego set for the General Grievous Starfighter. I have some good pictures that I was able to get of the set. I actually was going to have a speed build video, but with how I was recording it, the file didn't zip right to my editing software, and it's super slow and choppy. So we're just going to have to take a different route and just kind of just talk about the set in general, because it's a pretty good one.
I hear you. I know what it's like when you film something and then you go to play it back and you realize you're lost, because I just tried to do a reaction video for the first 3 episodes, and I realized, I don't know if I was just tired getting up early in the morning to watch it, but I watched it. I didn't really react. I think I said like 3 things. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to redo this. And so I'm actually going to repurpose the footage to do a recap video as opposed to a reaction, because just saying, I think that could be Palpatine's blood, that wasn't enough of a reaction for 3 episodes. So
yeah.
And again, you don't know, sometimes you put your best effort out there. So definitely, use what footage you can and turn that out, man. Love to see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Nice. So definitely check out his channel. I think we've already linked all his information down in the description. So definitely check him out. And Patrick, when you are not usually here with me and Chris or any other guests that we have on, where can the people find you?
Well, people can find me over at Poptography on YouTube or on any of the other social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, X, and Vero. I just recently updated that because I had left that at prior to the rebrand. But you can find me at Poptography YT. And that's really because I'm trying to push you over to my content on YouTube. So what I do are I take images, creative images of Star Wars Funko Pop, and do unboxings, and every while like a breaking news piece and stuff like that. But mostly what's in the boxes and creating Star Wars images. So that's kind of my shtick. But when I'm not here and you're not here, Lex, where are you at when you're not here chatting with me and Christopher and our guests about all things Funko?
Well, when I'm not here with you guys, I'm on my own channel, which is Jedi Lux, and I pretty much just do everything and all things Star Wars. I've started to do reaction videos for the Bad Batch, so I've got those 3 episodes out, and then hopefully now that it's only 1 episode every Wednesday, or like maybe 2 at a time, it'll come out that Wednesday night, but fingers crossed. And then I kind of I have a few guests lined up for my podcast, so that's going to be exciting. But other than that, just same old me, essentially. But I think that pretty much does it. I hope everyone has a great rest of your weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next Saturday for episode 57.